You make thousands of decisions every day, but here's the surprising part. Most of them are costing you something, even when they feel completely free. Welcome to one of the most important ideas in all of economics, and once you understand it, you'll never look at your choices the same way again. In this video, we're breaking down the core ideas from the chapter on choice in a world of scarcity. You'll learn why scarcity affects every single person on the planet, how economists think about trade-offs and opportunity costs, what a budget constraint actually means for your real life, and how to understand the production possibilities frontier, one of the most powerful tools in economic thinking. Stay with us, because by the end, you'll have a completely new lens for understanding every decision you make. Section 1. Scarcity is everywhere. Let's start with the big one, scarcity. It sounds like a word that belongs in a history textbook about famines or wars. But scarcity is happening right now, in your life, today. Here's the definition. Scarcity means that human wants and needs are unlimited, but the resources available to meet those wants are limited. Time, money, land, energy, none of these are infinite. And that gap between what we want and what we have, that's scarcity. Think about your own day. You have 24 hours. You want to sleep, work, exercise, spend time with friends, watch TV, and maybe learn something new. But you can't do all of those things to the degree you'd like. You have to choose. That tension between unlimited wants and limited resources is scarcity in action. And here's what makes this really important. Scarcity doesn't just affect poor people or developing countries. A billionaire still faces scarcity of time. A government with a huge budget still can't fund every program it wants to. Scarcity is universal. So if scarcity affects every single one of us, how do we actually make choices within those limits? That's where things get really interesting. Section 2. Trade-offs and the true cost of every choice. Here's a question. When you decide to spend a Saturday afternoon watching Netflix, what does that actually cost you? Most people would say nothing, especially if they already pay a monthly subscription. But economists would disagree, because every choice you make comes with a trade-off. When you choose one thing, you give up something else. This brings us to one of the most powerful concepts in economics, opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative you gave up when you made a choice. So that Saturday afternoon on the couch, the opportunity cost might be the gym session you skipped, the side project you didn't work on, or the time with family you didn't spend. You didn't just spend time, you gave up something valuable. Opportunity cost shows up everywhere. A student who chooses to attend a 4-year university isn't just paying tuition, they're also giving up 4 years of potential income from working full-time. That's part of the real cost of college, even if it never appears on a bill. Businesses think this way too. If a company uses its factory to produce cars, the opportunity cost is whatever else that factory could have been producing instead. The key insight here is this. Nothing is truly free. Every choice has a cost. It's just that sometimes the cost isn't money. Sometimes it's time, energy, or a missed opportunity. But how do we organize these trade-offs in a way we can actually see and analyze? That's exactly what economists use budget constraints for. Section 3. Budget constraints, the lines that define your choices. Imagine you have $50 to spend, and you can only buy 2 things, books or pizza. If a book costs $10 and a pizza costs $5, you have a limited number of combinations you can afford. You could buy 5 books and no pizza, or 10 pizzas and no books, or some mix in between. That range of possible combinations, given your budget, is called a budget constraint. It's a simple but incredibly useful tool. It shows you the boundary of what's possible, and everything outside that boundary is off the table, unless something changes, like your income or the prices. Budget constraints help us understand something important. People don't make choices in a vacuum. They make choices within limits. And when those limits change, behavior changes too. If your income goes up, your budget constraint shifts outward. You can suddenly afford combinations you couldn't before. If the price of one item drops, the constraint rotates, giving you more options on that side. These shifts explain so much of human economic behavior. And here's the fascinating thing. Budget constraints don't just apply to individuals. Countries face them too. Which is where our next concept comes in, and it might be the most visually intuitive idea in all of economics. Section 4. The production possibilities frontier. Let's scale up from your personal budget to an entire economy. Imagine a country that can only produce 2 things, healthcare and education. If the government puts all its resources into healthcare, it gets the maximum amount of healthcare but zero education. If it puts everything into education, the opposite happens. And anywhere in between, there's a trade-off. The Production Possibilities Frontier, or PPF, is a graph that shows all the possible combinations of two goods or services an economy can produce, given its current resources and technology. Every point on the curve represents a situation where resources are being used efficiently. Points inside the curve mean resources are being wasted. And points outside the curve? Those are currently impossible, unless something fundamentally changes. Here's what makes the PPF really powerful. It illustrates opportunity cost visually. To produce more of one thing, you must give up some of the other. And often, as you push further in one direction, the trade-off gets worse. You give up more and more to gain just a little bit extra. This is called the law of increasing opportunity cost. The PPF also helps us understand economic growth. When new technology is discovered or new resources become available, the entire curve shifts outward. Suddenly, combinations that were impossible before become achievable. That's what progress looks like in economic terms. So the PPF isn't just a classroom diagram. It's a framework for understanding how societies make big decisions and what it costs them to pursue one goal over another. Which raises a question worth sitting with. How do individuals and societies actually decide which point on that curve to aim for? Section 5. Making choices and moving forward. At the heart of this entire chapter is one simple truth. We live in a world of scarcity, and that means every choice matters. Scarcity forces us to prioritize. Trade-offs are unavoidable. Opportunity costs are real, even when they're invisible. Budget constraints define the boundaries of what's possible. And the Production Possibilities Frontier shows us how these ideas operate at a societal scale. The good news? Understanding these concepts doesn't paralyze you, it empowers you. When you recognize that every choice has a cost, you start making more intentional decisions. You start asking, what am I actually giving up here? Is this worth it? That's not just economic thinking, that's smart thinking. Now here's your challenge. Think about one decision you made today and identify its opportunity cost. What did you give up? Was the trade-off worth it? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd genuinely love to read them. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're going deeper into economics, one concept at a time, and it only gets more interesting from here.